training zones are only effective if you have your numbers right in the first place, and there's various methods for these. You can go to a lab, you can do threshold tests, or you can even use online calculators, because these, they'll often ask for your maximum heart rate, and we're probably all a little bit guilty in guesstimating those numbers.
Yeah, but there's going to be no excuses by the end of this video, because not only are we going to explain how to find your maximum heart rate across all the sports, or all 3 sports at least, we're also going to put ourselves through it too, just for you. Heather, I'm not sure about this. Why can't we just do the classic 220 minus your age?
I mean, it wouldn't be fun if we just did that, but more to the point, it's just not going to be accurate. For example, if you take James and I, we are the same age, therefore we would have exactly the same number, but I somehow very much doubt we've got the same max heart rate.
Okay, point proven. Still not sure I'm ready for this.
Well, whilst you get over that, just a quick disclaimer for you guys at home: if you are planning on following along with this and going for a max heart rate test, just check that your heart is healthy, maybe see your GP, or just basically be safe before you approach this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, whichever test you decide to do, just make sure that you've got a good, well-working chest heart rate strap monitor. Now, of course, there's other options of heart rate measurement. You can get a lot of measurements through watches these days using optical heart rate sensors. And from our experience, the ECG technology in a chest heart rate strap monitor is far more accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Now, apart from these tests being incredibly hard, I'm afraid I've got another bit of bad news. If you do want to have accurate data for your maximum heart rate for each of the 3 disciplines, you are going to have to do a separate test for each. Due to the difference in the physiological demands on our body, we will have a different max heart rate.
Yeah, and it would make sense for us obviously to start with swimming, as we're a triathlon channel. However, max heart rate, or heart rate testing, is used less frequently in swimming, so we're actually going to start on the bike. And for this, we'd also suggest you do it indoors on a turbo trainer where there are less distractions and you can really just focus on the maximum effort where it's far more safe. So over to you, James.
So ideally, if you want super accurate data, you do this in a lab, but we get in here because you want to be able to do this at home yourself. So let's get ready to sweat. It's time for the ramp test. The test consists of a 10 to 15 minute warm-up and then 10 minutes as hard as you can, with the final 60 seconds a flat out sprint, and then a decent warm down if you want to be able to walk the next day. Don't worry about looking at your heart rate while you're doing it. It's not about holding a specific target, it's about pushing as hard as you can, and as long as you record your data, you'll have plenty of data to analyze afterwards. It's all about pushing as hard as you can. So that's the warm-up over. Now it's time for the pain. Before I get too far into this, it's worth pointing out that if you don't have a turbo, you can do this outdoors, but you need to find somewhere where it's safe for you to push as hard as you can. Generally, this will mean finding a hill that's about 500 meters long so that you can get the effort high without the speed being unsafely high, dangerously high. And then you're going to probably have to do repeats on that 500 meter hill so that you can really get your effort up to max on the 3rd or 4th effort up that hill. A turbo is obviously the safer option, but it still hurts. That is so painful. All right, that's the back test done. I think it's time for Mark to do the run test. I'm gonna need to lie down.
Okay, so for this first test, you are either going to want to perform this inside on a treadmill in a nice controlled environment, or you can actually do it outside. But again, you're probably going to want to find somewhere where you won't be interrupted, such as a track. So you can just crack on and focus on the hard work. Now, to do this test well, obviously going to make sure that I warm up well. So I'm about to jump on the treadmill, start warming myself up as if I was preparing for a race. So get my body nice and warm. I'm going to throw a few strides in there and get myself really prepped. All right, so that is my warm-up done. I am nice and warmed up and I'm fired up, ready to go. It was a bit fast on this, honest. Right, so the test itself is quite simple. I'm gonna do a mile flat out. Or of course, if you're doing this on the athletics track, that'll be 4 laps of a 400-meter athletics track. But the aim is in the final 400 meters to up that intensity, max effort for the final 400 meters, and then going into the final straight or the final 100 meters on the treadmill, gonna up it again. A full-on sprint, bat out of hell all the way to the finish line. Try and get that heart rate elevated to its absolute max. Ouch. Right, that's enough procrastinating. I best get on with this. Here we go. That was really hard. Now, there are actually other ways of doing the run test, but I think it's probably Heather's turn now.
That's right, you don't have to do a 1 mile effort, but that said, all the other options are really much nicer anyway. I mean, after all, we are doing a max heart rate test, which means max effort, which means it's going to hurt. Or you can do this one, which I'm doing today, also on the track, but it does require a friend. So I have roped in Mark. Now, you're still going to be running on the track. It's going to be hard. You're basically trying to increase your heart rate by 5 beats per minute every 15 seconds. So I'll be handing over my heart rate watch to Mark, and he's basically going to be telling me the pace. Now, you need to make sure...
I'm in control.
Well, in theory, I've got to then try and do what Mark says. So he'll be keeping an eye, telling me every 15 seconds how much I need to up it. Now, you don't need to be completely strict, because obviously we're trying to just get your heart rate up as high as possible in a gradual curve. You want to start at around 120 beats per minute. Not starting too low or taking too long to get it up, otherwise fatigue will actually be your limiting factor. But I think I've probably done enough talking about this. I probably should go and get ready and get this done.
And hand me your watch.
Oh yeah. I've just got to run hard and you've got to encourage me. Feels strange starting a run without... I'm like, going to do this.
180 BPM already.
Bit nervous.
Okay, ready? 3,
Yeah.
2, 1, let's go. Okay, good work. Up it by 5 now. Okay, we're at 145, Heather. Let's up it again. Good work, Heather. Come on then, up it by 5 again. Good work, Heather. Come on, 185. I reckon there's more in there. Come on. Come on. Right, we're at 195. Do you reckon we go any higher? No, okay. I reckon we'll call it there. Good work. Good work.
If you are still with us or you're enjoying watching us suffer, then I expect you want to see this swim. Well, I am sorry to disappoint you, but I didn't want to get my hair wet today. So instead, I'm going to talk you through this. Now, you need to make sure that you've got a well-fitted heart rate strap that's going to stay in place when you push hard off the wall. And if it is one that's secured, then it should read pretty accurately. And for the swim, we're going to do something called the step test, which is a test that both Mark and I regularly did when we were swimmers. And it starts off rather nice, but don't let that deceive you, because it does certainly step up. So it's a total of 5 200 meters on 6 minutes, so plenty of rest. And the first one, you need to start at your PB plus 20 seconds. So that's your target time. And then each 200, you need to try to take 4 seconds off that. And you'll soon find that it is rather hard. Now, measure your heart rate for all of these, because you will hopefully get the max by the end, but you might find that fatigue gets in the way and you actually see your maximum heart rate on number 4.
Well, I've got to be honest, that was very tough and not something that I would choose to do. But if you are thinking of doing any of these tests, then it's worth bearing in mind that how you feel mentally as well as physically can affect the outcome of these tests.
Yeah, and with that in mind, you obviously need to turn up for these tests 100% prepared to work hard. And with that in mind, actually, you'll get better at doing them. So you will want to do a retest, but just don't do it the next day. Make sure you have plenty of rest in between.
Yeah, and if you don't fancy doing any of these tests or methods, then there are some alternatives. As we mentioned already, there is the rather inaccurate 220 minus your age. For slightly older athletes over the ages of 40, there's apparently the 207 minus 0.7 times your age, and that's meant to be a little bit more accurate for those older ages.
Yeah, and there's also another adaptation for more active people. And apparently that is 211 minus 0.64 times your age, if you're still with us. And then, interestingly, there isn't any differentiation in calculations between men and women. However, it's proven that women tend to have 5 to 10 beats higher for their max heart rate, apparently.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other options as well if you don't want to do these tests. If you're going to do any short efforts races, such as a 10-mile TT or a 5K running race, it's worth making sure you got your heart rate monitor on you, because you might hit a new max heart rate whilst doing that.
Well, after all of that, do just have a think about why you want that really accurate max heart rate. Because if you're new to triathlon, well, you're going to see enough improvements to be able to do a lot of your training without having a really accurate result. And access to power meters and methods of working out your training zones without a max heart rate test, you have to question, is it worth all that effort?
Well, we'll leave you with that one. Let us know if you've done any of these max heart rate tests before in the comment section down below, or there's other methods that you've tried out there. Well, thanks for tuning in today, and as always, do make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up as well.